And welcome to ADHD Friendly. I am Patty. I am the host and creator of this podcast and the ADHD Friendly membership community. More on that in a minute. So this is episode 166. I'm going to kick us off with a subscriber celebration. Did I say that last time? No. I'm telling you, my brain is just overwhelmed with stuff this time of year. Okay, good. So I have a subscriber celebration. Yes. And then I will share a tip tied to calendars, one of my favorite things ever. And then our main topic this week is let's review our 24 and 24 lists. So we're going to do a little check-in, see how the year went. And then, of course, I'll share my book of the week and a quote to wrap things up. But as always, as we do, we start with a celebration, get our brains fired up with some wins, something that feels like a sense of accomplishment. I want to start by saying Merry Christmas. This comes out on Christmas morning. So if you were listening to me on Christmas morning, Merry Christmas. I hope it's snowy where you are. If it's possible to have snow and you like snow, I'm really keeping everything crossed that I have a snowy Christmas. All right. So my win, my celebration is I started my summer snowy reading list and it came from recommendations from a subscriber. So this was from @Anthrogal78. She had 2 recommendations for a snowy reading list. And she said that they are both set in snowy Alaska and they're both by the author Eowyn, Eowyn Ivy. The first was The Snow Child, and the second one is To the Bright Edge of the World. So they are both, I was like, I've been meaning to start a list, but this prompted it. So thank you so much for your recommendations. It prompted me into action. So now I have the beginning of my list started, and I'm going to just be so excited when summer comes around that I have some cold, wintry settings to read about when I am not in an environment that is cold and wintry. So that was very sparkly and fun. All right, what I purchased this week. Going to lead me into my tip and tool for the week, but I purchased my 2025 planning tools. Ooh. They're not here yet. I've ordered them, and these are needs, not wants. Yes. These are absolutely needed for my brain. I got my annual dry erase calendar that I track my walking habit on, and I got my monthly desk blotter that sits on my desk that I track my yoga habit on. Love it. And I have been using these for years to track these habits, and they really do work for me. So I did notice that the monthly blotter went up to almost $3, but the dry erase calendar on the wall went down $2. So it's pretty much a wash, same price. But at first I was a little agitated. I'm like, I'm tired of going down. But the dry erase calendar on the wall went down. I actually thought, am I ordering the wrong size? Because I didn't believe that it was less, and it was. So here's my tip for this episode. Order your 2025 calendars and planners now if you haven't already. I know it's Christmas Day. Maybe you're waiting to see if you got some sparkly planning tools in your stocking or under the tree or for Hanukkah or whatever celebration that you have going on. If you didn't, go ahead and order them. Do not start the new year without those planning tools because they will support you to have your best year yet. And that's what we're going for. I wanted to highlight, I just printed a pipicture because I have it on the wall right there, but I just am so resistant to turning the camera. It's just too disruptive. So I just printed it out. I'm sharing just the top part of my dry erase annual calendar. And I shared that this year, one of my goals that I'm updating from my list in a minute is to track my 24 minutes of walking or something physical like gardening outside every day in 2024. But I also gave myself the permission to skip 24 days. And I put these little flags across the top. They're just little Post-it sticky flags. And you can see I moved them down throughout the year when I skipped a day. They all have numbers on them, so I know how many days I skipped. And I went into December with 4 skip days left, which is very sparkly. This was hit and miss this year. I liked part of this flag thing, but because my brain is so all or nothing, I did find that there were days I just didn't feel like it, and I was in danger of just stopping the whole trend. I do better, it seems, with more ease if I just consistently do something. So I'm going to kind of keep thinking about what I want to do next year if I want to try the 25 days off to skip in 2025. But because there were days I was really grateful I didn't have to.
Right.
So I'd say it worked for half the year. The second half of the year, it became more of an obstacle.
Right. Because you still were like, I gotta go, I gotta walk.
I gotta walk, but I really wasn't feeling like the commitment like I was, because I'd already skipped, like 12 days or whatever the first part of the year. So I don't know. We'll see how I end up landing on that. But the physical, concrete way of seeing it, again, still very sparkly to pull those little flags down and cross them off when the X's mean I walked on that day. Very sparkly. All right, now a quick little update on the ADHD-Friendly membership. If you are looking at supporting yourself with a little bit more ease in 2025, I invite you to check out my membership. Information about it is on ADHD-Friendly.com. It is everything. I'm like, how do I even encompass it in a couple of words? Everything that is in there is designed to help you struggle less and thrive more. And it's on a new platform that I'm launching right now because I needed it to be more visually easy to navigate, more visually pleasing, and to work better for me to add things to it, because it was just cumbersome. And really the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back was I couldn't get my POM course that I promised to have in there loaded in a way that it was working the way I needed to work with ease. And I was just like, that's it. If I can't add things to this easily, it's just not what I'm going to be able to grow and keep adding to, because I was feeling so much resistance. So I just went to a platform. It's more expensive, but it works a lot more easily. And so now my POM course is in there, my planner course is in there, planning tools, POM tools, executive function tools, video library. And in January, in 1 week, I am kicking off a year-long course I'm calling ADHD University, ADHD-U, and I'm starting it with the winter semester because I'll be developing it throughout the year. It is an on-demand course with live components that we will meet over the course of the year. And the winter semester that kicks off in January is all about planning your best year yet. So if you're looking to plan your best year yet and to struggle less and thrive more, I invite you to check out ADHD-Friendly's membership at ADHD-Friendly.com. All right, thank you so much. On to, let's review our 24 and 24 lists. Okay, so if you have a list, this was part of your tools that you did last year, pause the recording, go grab your list, grab a highlighter, grab a marker, pen, whatever you want to write with, maybe a notepad, whatever you want to use tool-wise. If you don't have a 2024 or 24 and 24 list, you have something else, grab wherever you had your goals written down. I used to put them in a file and then forget until the next year. And then I'd look at it and go, oh, I wanted to do that. So I've definitely moved past that. So go ahead and grab what you need. And I invite you to review yours as I go over mine. And the first thing we're going to do is check off what you completed. So if you haven't already checked it off, go through your list and check off everything that has been completed. Again, pause the recording if you need a few more minutes to go through and check it off. The second step is celebrate what you did accomplish. And I want to really highlight here, it's important to celebrate progress. So let's say you had a goal of cleaning out the garage. Maybe you organized the toolbox or the toys, outdoor toys or whatever, but you didn't get the whole garage done. Acknowledge progress. So really stay out of the judgment of, yeah, that corner is great, but look at the rest of this place. Acknowledge that something is more than nothing and celebrate that. Look for any big wins so that you can note what worked to get them checked off. So there's sometimes patterns that we can pull out of the wins as we're going through it. Again, pause if you need more time to go through that. What I noticed worked for me as I made my list of wins was I got all of my medical appointments done. I found a new dentist and got my 2 teeth cleaning appointments in. I got the outside of the house painted. I organized my hobbies and shared a whole episode about that, and I'm still loving it. I got my POM course held live, which allowed me to record the course, which I've been trying to do for years. And now it's in the membership community for on-demand viewing with all of the tools. Everything's in there. It feels amazing to have that done. I've been talking about doing that since Becca started. And now it's done after, it took me like 3 years to get it done. And what I noticed worked for me was urgency. So like when I scheduled the live course, I was like, well, dang, I'm going to have to
Gotta
have
do it.
all the slides ready and all the tools ready. So it absolutely put a fire under me to get it done. And accountability. Everything that got done had some accountability to it. So I know I need that. Take your wins, notice how they feel. And for any that you want to remember particularly, add them to your success journal. This is a great time to pause and really just allow yourself to think about, how would I remember this win in an easy way? So I did this yesterday so I could share. I did this is going to be a page that's going to go into my Expecto Patronum journal. Looks like this. It's my visual success journal where I capture pictures of my wins, because pictures work better for me than a list of words. And this is just a picture of the courses that I have in my membership community. This is the planner course, just a really quick little snapshot that reminds me of the outline that I created. And then I have the Building Your Palm course in here. I have little notes about when I created them and when they went in. And then I also am in the final stages of creating my create your personal owner's manual book. That's going to come out in 2025, but I have this is the first draft of the cover, and I'm just so excited about it that it all came because I put the structure around the Palm course. So that's going into my Expected Patronum journal in my business win section. Makes me really happy to have little images to connect to and remind myself. And I turned it over because it's just my own little note, but that's my own little note to stick on here to remind me of what felt really good about this for myself. And I just put on here, it's just the first draft of my personal owner's manual book cover that was done in November.
Love it.
Okay. So next step. So you've checked off what was completed, you celebrated your wins and noticed what was it that helped you to accomplish those wins. Next, we're going to evaluate the misses. So what didn't get done? What didn't happen that you wanted to finish? List anything that didn't get finished into two categories. One category is it's no longer relevant, and the other one is it's still important to you. So my examples for things that didn't get finished on my list that I decided are no longer relevant were, I wanted to take 3 classes. Now I took classes at the library, but I know my intention when I wrote this was to take 3 knitting classes to learn 3 knitting things. I did sign up for a couple of classes, but they didn't end up running. One of them closed the one time I could go and I couldn't get into it. And the other one, I was the only person signed up, and I kind of, I didn't want to inconvenience the person running it to make her hold it just for me. So I just said, it's fine, I'm good. Yeah. And so she was like, just let me know and I'll teach you. And I'm not good at asking independently for that. So I haven't made the thing that I wanted to make. So I've just decided it's okay that I let that go. I don't have an expectation for that. I decided not to change cell phone providers, at least for right now. I've been trying to do that for 2 years. And that was more going to talk about this around obstacles, because once you have your list of things that you didn't finish, the next thing I want you to think about within this category is what were the obstacles to doing it? And so when it comes to the cell phone provider, I didn't lose interest, but I did lose motivation, because when I went to do it, it seems like all of the cell phone companies have gone to this requirement that they automatically draft the monthly payment out of your checking account. And I don't want to do that. So they can only do that when you switch or you change your plan. And so I was just like, and I couldn't figure out a way around it. And it just, I know I could like open up a separate account and just have, but it just requires a lot of executive functions for me to, and I was just like, you know what, never mind. I'm just done for right now. So I've just let that go. And I'm okay with that for right now. I didn't hire my Alice yet again. And I'm not even putting it on my list in 2025 because I notice it's draining me to have it on the list. I still want my Alice. And for if you're new to the podcast, my Alice is, I get it from the Brady Bunch, the idea of having, and I always say, I don't want this person to live with me. I just want them to come and cook and clean for me. Because I just hate both things so stinking much. But I just have had other things come up that were more important that got in the way of that. And I'm okay with that. And I didn't do the awful book. And my obstacle there was, it wasn't a routine that I had structure around to keep coming back to it. And it wasn't like I found awe all the time that I was like, oh, I need to write this in the awful book. My awful book was moments of awe, things that created that sense of awe, not awful, but like, oh, look at that beautiful rainbow, or, you know, so it just wasn't something I had enough structure around to help me continue to come back to it. So those were things I decided I wasn't going to put back on my list next year. Things that I thought were still important but didn't happen were doing my monthly newsletter. I did it through June and then it fell off and I haven't done it since.
Oh.
It was the course. It was the
Yeah.
POM course, just ended up taking so much time. I
So
just
much
had to let, and then once at all or nothing, once I dropped it, I dropped it. Back up. I did not do the strength training every week like I intended, and that's important. So I'm going to have to figure out how to track that because I know tracking really works for me. And I didn't get a second business credit card that I intended to get. And that obstacle was more because I had my credit frozen and I was like, I have to go and unfreeze at the time that I'm going to actually apply. And I did it when I forgot I had my credit frozen, and it just created this whole thing that now I have to I still have to come back to. So I still want to do that, but I'm letting that go until next year.
Wait on it.
Yes. So reflect on obstacles, look at the things that didn't happen and ask yourself, did you lose interest? Did you lose motivation? Were there logistical obstacles? So like for me with the cell phone, like all of those logistical things I'd have to go through. And also with the cell phone, they run the credit checks. It was the same thing with the credit freeze. Did the item feel overwhelming or unclear? That came up from my cell phone provider. I got completely overwhelmed by how much was involved, and it was such a pain in the butt. And I know this is all intentional and it just pisses me off, but sorry. It really does make me mad.
It grinds my gears.
Or maybe exactly. Was the goal too big for your current capacity? So one of my goals was to do 3 podcast interviews this year to kind of change it up a little bit. And I realized I just don't have the bandwidth to have the structure in place to start finding who do I want to interview? How do I set that up? It was just one step too far. And okay. And I'm not even expecting myself to do that next year because I have other things I want to do that are more important for me right now. So reflecting on obstacles is going to help to keep them in perspective, can help you to let go of the things that are no longer serving you to have them on your list, and to ask yourself questions, again, to stay out of judgment and just notice what did get in the way of me doing it. Step 4 is reevaluate the unfinished goals for 2025. So for the 2025 list, is there something on there that's still important you want to carry over? Even if it got checked off, do you want to do it again? So for me, yes, I still want to keep my annual physical, my annual mammogram, my dental cleanings, because it feels good to check them off and it keeps it on my radar to make sure I don't forget. Is there something you could do to make it more ADHD friendly? So again, if I'm going to use the garage example, maybe you're just going to break it down to clean the car supplies section, maybe you have different things, or you put up some hooks on the wall to hang some things up, whatever it is, instead of the whole garage. Break it into steps so you can check off the steps and you have to wait for the giant one thing to be checked off all at once. I decided to focus on the second business credit card application whole thing next summer, when I think I'll have a little bit more time to think about it. So I'm not even going to put it on the beginning of the list. I'm going to kind of structure it in a different way. And for my newsletter, I'm yes, I really do want to do that. I talked to one of my coach colleagues yesterday, and she told me that she's been putting out a weekly newsletter. I think she said for 7 years every week. And then she puts it on her blog. And I'm yeah, that sounds lovely. And I just thought, okay, I just need some structure to do it monthly right now. I'm not going to try to hold myself to that kind of expectation, but I do want to get some structure around the monthly. So I'm moving that to my 25 and 25 list. And then cross out anything that's no longer serving you so that you can move on with a list that you're excited about, not something that you're I don't know how many of that done. It hasn't happened in 2 years.
Oh yeah.
What I loved was I still had my 23 and 23 list up because I do this every year with my membership. And it was really interesting to see kind of the Alice thing. That was what let me, I'm going to let that one go, because right now I don't even have the motivation to figure out how to do that, because honestly, I don't even know where to start, because I do look sometimes and I'm how do I find a person to invite into my house? That just feels so uncomfortable to me, to have some stranger come in and clean. I know but I don't have the bandwidth right now. I think I can get over the cooking, because then they're just in one room. But the idea of them being all over the place, I'm not used to it. I'm not used to the idea of that. So I'm gonna let that go for this now, for 2025. I'll revisit it in 2026.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So that's it. Again, this is episode 166. If there's something around your list you want to celebrate, post in this episode in the comments, or a tip that worked for you or what you learned. We always love to hear whatever you're taking away. All right. The book of the week. This is going to be a new one. It's not out yet. It is called The Riveter. It's by Jack Wang. I got this as a book in the Big Winter Books session at my library. It comes out in February of 2025, February 11th. This is a very interesting book. It's historical fiction. And the, kind of in a nutshell description is, if you like All the Light We Cannot See, if you read that and you like that, it's in a similar vein. So it's set in Vancouver, Canada in 1942, where Josiah Chang arrives in the bustling city, ready to make a new life for himself. And the Second World War is in full swing. And Josiah, like so many Canadians, wants to prove his loyalty by serving his country. But Chinese Canadians are barred from joining the army out of fear that they might expect citizenship, because they're not citizens, they're not recognized. And so they don't let them join, because then they think that they'll expect to be able to become full citizens when they return. So he heads to the shipyard, where he finds work as a riveter, where they fasten the ribs and the steel plates of the Victory ships together. And so it goes through his process. It does a little bit of sometimes I have a hard time with timelines when they go back and forth. It does a bit of that, where it starts kind of with him parachuting in to France during World War II. And it grabbed me right away. But then after the first section, where I'm totally into oh my gosh, what happens to him? Because he parachuted in and got away from and almost died during the parachuting. And then it jumps back to him becoming a riveter. And so I have a really hard time with that kind of timeline, but it was really beautifully told. So it wasn't enough to stop me from reading it, but I do want to highlight that if that's a challenge for you. But comes out in February, if that sounds I just do tend to love period books, and World War II is one of my favorite points in history to read about. And I really have I don't remember ever reading a book set with Canadian soldiers. So that was an interesting perspective to learn about. So it's called The Riveter by Jack Wang. If that interests you, I invite you to check it out in February. Okay, now for my second week in a row, we're doing another quote from Kevin Kelly's Excellent Advice for Living. I love that he calls his own advice excellent, but that's okay. You be you, Kevin. Lean into it. All right. So this is appropriate as we are wrapping up 2024. His quote for today is, if you repeated what you did today 365 more times, will you be where you want to be next year?
Ooh.
So my question, this is where my brain goes, is can I do it 365 times right now? Or do I have to do it once? Because I can do it all at once right now, but do I have to do it once a day for 365 days in a row? That consistency is a bear, man. So, but I love that, because it's, if you think about repeating things, if you brush your teeth today and you decide to do it for 365 days in a row, that simple, one thing, right? I always say, what one thing could make a difference if you did it every day? So little tip, little reminder of that from Kevin Kelly. That's it for this episode. Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. I think Hanukkah starts today as well. I think they overlap this year. I'm not sure if it was last night or today, but happy holidays, whatever holiday. If you're celebrating a holiday this season, I wish you lots of joy and together and connection, togetherness, connection and fun and love in this time of year. We'll be back next week for a New Year's episode. Until then, tally ho.